Now, let us talk about the case of People versus Amarela. By the way, my name is Danica Gabriel Roado together with my group mates, Mr. Walo, Miss Humalon, and Miss De Blas. Okay, so People of the Philippines versus Juvie D. Amarela and Junard G. Racho. So, the summary of the case here states that the plaintiff, which we shall call as AAA, was watching a beauty contest with her aunt when she went to the restroom to urinate. However, she was not able to reach the comfort room because Amarella stopped her along the way. According to AAA, Amarella suddenly pulled her towards the daycare center and punched her in the abdomen, making her weak. Thereafter, Amarella undressed and put his penis inside AAA's vagina. Now, three men came to AAA's rescue when she shouted for help, forcing Amarella to run away. However, she was brought to a halt by these persons having bad intentions with her. Hence, she fled and ended up in the house of Godo Dumandan, who brought her first to the Racho residence because Dumandan thought her aunt was not at home. Dumandan stayed behind. That is why Racho was asked to bring AAA to her aunt's house instead. However, instead, she was brought to a shanty. She was told to lie down, but she refused. So Racho boxed her abdomen and placed himself on top of AAA. Racho then inserted his penis into the vagina. Thereafter, Racho left her. Thus, she went home alone and decided to leave home the following day. Eventually, she told her mother about what happened to her and reported the matter to the police. So the RTC rendered a decision finding the appellants guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the crime of rape, as the plaintiff's testimony positively identifying both appellants. It was clear, positive, and straightforward. And then there was an appeal in the Supreme Court, in the Court of Appeals. So the appellants argued that several circumstances cast doubt on the victim's claim that she was raped. They alleged that her testimony does not conform to shared knowledge and ordinary human experience. Moreover, they pointed out that although there were other witnesses, the only material testimony on record was that of the victim. So, however, the appellate court affirmed the trial court's decision as it found no reason to reverse the factual findings of the court coup. For the Supreme Court, it had no reason to deviate from the well entrenched rule that in matters of credibility of witnesses, the assessment made by the trial court should be respected and given weight. But the Supreme Court reversed the judgment of conviction. First, AA's version of the story in her affidavit complaint differs materially from her testimony in court. So secondly, AAA could not have easily identified Amarella because the crime scene was dark. So she only saw him for the first time. Third, her testimony lacks material details on how she was brought under the stage against her will. Lastly, the medical findings do not corroborate physical injuries and are inconclusive of any signs of forced entry. Now, in this case, we can apply the Maria Clara Doctrine or the Women's Honor Doctrine, which often leads to cases being adjudged solely based on the basis of the credibility of the victim and does not only put the accused at an unfair disadvantage but also results in a travesty of justice. It is not impossible for an assumed victim to merely fabricate stories of her abuse. Well, in the past, one can say that it is natural for a woman to be reluctant to disclose as sexual assault, but this stereotype cannot be applied anymore as women have transformed over the years and have become more willing to speak up and fight for their rights. There is a need to veer away from such a notion and accept the realities of a woman's dynamic role in society today. So, given that the findings through evidence presented do not match the victim's testimony in the past, is crucial, okay? Because an accused must only be convicted solely on the testimony of the victim, provided, of course, that the testimony is credible, it's natural, it's convincing, and consistent with human nature and normal course of things. So, the Supreme Court's recent consideration and clarification as to the application of the Maria Clara Doctrine in People versus Amarela would not only prevent corruption of justice on the part of the accused, but to eradicate gender bias and misconceptions in the society as well, especially on the part of women. So, we are eradicating stereotypes. The old constructive perception of women anchored in the apparent attributes of Maria Clara, which is or who is a pure soul, modest, long-suffering, self-effacing, can no longer be applied absolutely today. Gone are those days when in cases of abuse, for a woman to be credible, she must be like Maria Clara. And when she does not fit the mold, there is a propensity of discrediting her as a witness as exemplified, okay, in Tenlock. It would really be unfair to convict a man of rape committed against a woman who, after giving him the impression through her unexplainable silence of her tacit consent and allowing him to have sexual contact with her, changed her mind in the middle and charged him with rape. So, our main topic here is the women's honor doctrine, or the women in general who have actually changed when in terms of the way they dress, okay, their the stereotype of women have actually changed. So there's a lot women can do, there's a lot women can say, but it should not be used against her. So we have to eradicate gender bias. It's really good to read this case, People versus Amarella, for you to have a different understanding, to have a lot of understanding when it comes to uh, this type of cases. You can also check People versus Salinas. There are also a lot of cases such as Almais versus Workmen's Compensation Commission and Province. We have Picard versus Smith. So these are gender cases. These are like for example, this People versus Amarella. This is um, a criminal case, but you can find a doctrine which we can relate into gender. Like for example, in ang Ladlad LGBT Party versus Commission on Elections. So actually, that's a constitutional, a political law case, but there is also a gender concept lied underneath it. So you can check on that. And yeah, like also Spouses Ong versus Metropolitan Water District. So, but you have to read the whole case, the full text, instead of reading a digest for you to be able to find out the gender-related topic on that case. Okay. So, once again, thank you so much. My name is Danica Gabriel Roado together with my colleagues. So, this has been our report for Module 1.